I would take FA Cup any day of the week.
Let me ask you a question, Dan. When you win the FA Cup, you are the best of what?
Of the teams that played in the FA Cup.
Are you though? If those teams all finish ahead of you in the league over 38 games, are you better than those teams?
Well, in that cup, yes.
Okay, yeah, but
Either you had a better run. That's how cups work.
That
That's how
cup is
cups
6
work,
games, right? But that's what I'm saying. Cups are great. They're great to have a parade and haul around. But a team that shows success, nobody's going to say that Tottenham Hotspur is a better team than Manchester City because we won the FA Cup and they didn't. Nobody's going to say that.
Well, the biggest criticism that we've had as a football club for the last 20 years is the fact that we don't win trophies.
It's just banter from people that don't think with
it's
a
not
rational
banter.
brain.
Well, it's banter. Reasonable. Well, it's reasonable.
It's not
because
reasonable.
The whole point of football is to win cups.
I'm sorry. If
we
you
have won
if you
in the
finish
last 20
fifth,
years.
sixth, fifth, eighth, 5th, 2nd over the last 10 years, in the last 7 years, right? Those are your table positions, and you won 1 or 2 trophies, domestic cups on that side. You can't say you're a better team than a team that won 1 or none, that finished above you consistently for those 7 years.
You can't say that you're better, but you can say that you've been more successful.
Why? Why?
Because the whole point of sport is to win, so therefore you were successful.
Yeah, but you're not the best at anything when you win a domestic cup.
When
you win the Champions League, you're the best team in Europe. When you win the Premier League, you're the best team in England. Right? You're not the best team of anything when you win the FA Cup. It's unfortunate. I know a lot of people have an emotional attachment to that cup. That's just the reality of it.
Do you know what? Listening to this is the problem with these conversations. I don't think you're overly wrong, Dan. I also don't think Will's wrong. I think there is opinions there from both sides that are important. Of course, Wigan winning the FA Cup and getting relegated for a club their size, their fans love winning the FA Cup. But ideally, I guarantee you they were still angry when they got relegated. You can be happy you've won the FA Cup, but annoyed and criticize your team and club for coming 8th.
Exactly.
Those two things can coexist at exactly the same time. So you can celebrate winning a trophy, but be angry at your league position. The same as you can be buzzing about your league position, but fuming at how you performed in domestic cup competitions, because what you ideally want when you have the income and money that your club does, my club does, Chelsea's does, is you want to be successful in your domestic league, you want to be successful in your domestic trophies, and you want to be successful in Europe. But for sustained success, the history of football shows us the teams that finish high up in the league are the teams that consistently have success in domestic trophies and in European conversations. So you have to, whatever you're winning, and winning is great, don't stop winning. You have to aim to make your domestic standing higher and more consistent, because typically, if you look at all the winners of the Copa del Rey, if you look at the winners of the FA Cup, the League Cups, if you look at the majority of the winners and look at their league positions in and around that time, it's the teams at the top of the league that mainly win all the other trophies as well. So I don't think you're wrong, Dan. I don't think you're wrong at all for being happy with winning the FA Cup. But you could still sit at the end of the season and say, buzzing about the FA Cup, that was amazing, but really unhappy with where we finished in the league. It's called critical thinking. The problem is nowadays, everything's either I'm happy or I'm completely angry, and no sort of nuance in the middle.
Yeah. So the last time we won a trophy, we finished, I think, 12th that year under Juan de Ramos. Basically, it was a cup win because we focused on that, and we didn't go anywhere with it because it was a manager that was playing bad football, to be fair, or didn't get much from the players, and it was a team that really wasn't in his image. You should be seeing now a team in Ange's image grow over the next 2 or 3 seasons. And then obviously, so there's a plan in place. The FA Cup, look, I understand what Will's saying is that he holds the Champions League and the Premier League as the marker. That's where it's missing. So I understand what he's saying. But the FA Cup is probably one of the biggest domestic cup competitions in world football. So there's a lot of heritage, a lot of prestige in regards to winning it. Spurs have a really good history in winning it. 9 finals and 8 wins. Only non-league team to win the non-league and the FA Cup at the same time. No one's ever done it before or after. So we've got a lot of history in that.
Look.
No, what I'm saying is, for me, it means a lot. Obviously, if you hold people going because you don't rate the FA Cup, you don't know that thing. It's what you deem worthy. I just think the FA Cup means a lot as well, but obviously you see things differently. But people seem to get a bit weird with.
No, I mean, take boxing for example, right? If you win a gold medal, that's great. It doesn't mean you're the best boxer in the world, right? You're not the best boxer in the world until you're the heavyweight champion of the world, and you're not really the heavyweight champion of the world until you hold the belts from all of the boxing confederations, right? That makes you the heavyweight champion. You are now the best, right? Winning winning a gold medal in the Olympics in boxing doesn't make you the best. It's an honor, right? It's great to have. You're excited. You want to win it, right? I want to win the FA Cup, but winning the FA Cup doesn't make Tottenham Hotspur the best team in England. I want Tottenham Hotspur to be the best team in England. That's the expectation that I have for the club. Will we ever get there?
Well,
Who knows?
boxing
That's
is
the
a
expectation that I have, though.
boxing is a strange comparison because in boxing, forgive me if I'm wrong, I don't know too much about boxing, but if you have a championship and somebody beats you, you lose your championship. So let's say Man City have been champions of England for how many years? We beat them every season. So every year that we beat them, we become champions of England. It's not.
If you beat them for the championship trophy.
When the first game England played after the 1966 World Cup was against Scotland, and they beat us, and they were singing that they're world champions. That actually, as a joke.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't work like that. But Terry, can I say my last point on how the FA Cup is?
Of course you can, mate. Of course you can, brother.
Alan, you bring up when we won the Carabao Cup a couple years ago, right? 15 years ago, before I was born. Do you remember that season because it holds value? Because we won the Carabao Cup. Maybe the season before we placed a little bit higher in the league. Do you remember where we placed? Do you remember what we did that year? No, because we didn't win anything.
But no. When we placed where? Sorry.
When that year that we won the Carabao Cup, that we placed where was it? Where?
We placed 12th.
12th. That year you remember it because we won a trophy.
Okay.
I can't tell you where we finished like 7 years ago when we didn't win a trophy. I can't tell you if I remember, but I can tell you where we finished 15 years ago because that was a year that holds value in my heart and in our brain. And that's the whole point of football, to win trophies. And that's a year that we actually did it.
Yeah. The thing is, though, Dan, that's not the. I hear your point again, but that isn't what's being said. What is being said is, I'll celebrate. This is what I'm hearing from both Will and Alan. I will celebrate winning an FA Cup, but it's not going to quench my thirst. I am still going to put pressure on the team to become better in the league. So you are right. If you win the FA Cup this year, you'll remember this season forever. But that doesn't mean you ignore all the flaws in your squad and in your team still, because that would probably stop you from progressing. And by the way, we saw that happen to your biggest rivals, Arsenal, in the latter years of Wenger. He won back-to-back FA Cups. And as much as that was good for the club trophy-wise, a lot of Gooners felt that it essentially kept a manager there that was still taking them backwards in terms of challenging for league titles and everything else. So it doesn't mean winning the FA Cup was bad per se for Arsenal. You always want to win. But at the same time, you need to be competing for your... And that's where you guys want to get back to. And I think the commentators said it tonight. I think Clive Tilsley said it. He basically said, I don't know what commentators other people were listening to, but he goes, I remember when Spurs were a brilliant cup team, and they were like the cup team for a long time in England in the 80s and the 90s. But then he said, I'm also old enough to remember when they were a team that challenged for titles. But you're talking about the 1960s when that was going on. And it's, that's what Spurs have got to aim to get back to 100%. Got some super chats here. The first one says, it's about trophies. If you don't understand that, then you're a Spurs fan.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's not, right? It's about being the best, right? And if you're satisfied, for example, if you think success for you is winning a League Cup, then you don't know what success is, because success is winning the league, the Champions League. That's actual success in this sport. That's the pinnacle, right? You could be a Leicester side that wins the FA Cup and then gets relegated the next season, or a Wigan, right? You can be all of these different clubs. Success is what Manchester City's been doing over the last 6 years. That's success.
And you know how we know this is true? Man United won the League Cup last year and got bantered. Liverpool won the League Cup and the FA Cup the year before and got laughed at for not winning the league and the Champions League.
Exactly.
No one said what amazing seasons you had, because it doesn't mean you didn't have good elements of your season.
They got laughed at. They got laughed at because they were saying the whole year that they were going to win the quadruple.
Yeah, and they didn't. And but even though they won 2 trophies still, Liverpool still looked at that as a disappointing season. That's the level of that club. Jean-Pierre here says, correct, Terry, we need a trophy and minimum 6th place. As Abby said on DR Sports, she wasn't being delusional. I hear you there. Winning the Champions League doesn't make you the best team in Europe. Chelsea won the Champions League and finished 5th in the Prem. Were they the best team in Europe without being the best in England?
Yeah, that year they were the best team in Europe in that competition. Absolutely. The difference between the Champions League and the FA and the EFL Cup is, one, Premier League teams don't have to qualify for it. You just hop in, right, at the later stages. You don't even have to start at the beginning, right? You got basically six fixtures sets until you reach a final. If you reach a final, the Champions League, you have to qualify for it. You have to go through a group stage. Then you have to go through a knockout stage. You have to take that path all the way to the end, and you're playing against the best teams in Europe. Yes, it's a knockout competition. So a team who maybe finishes 4th or 5th can end up being the best team in Europe that year. But that's a tournament. That's the way a tournament works.
Yeah.
Right?
Can I just quickly, like, in regards to the FA Cup this year, I want to win trophies, but it has to be, it can't just be a one-off trophy and we go back to what we've seen from Spurs. It has to be an FA Cup that launches us onto another FA Cup or challenging for the league next season with winning maybe a League Cup and then the Cup down the line. It has to be sustained, like winning trophies. It can't just be one FA Cup at the blue and stuff like that. So that's just what I'm saying. But people in the comments saying, can we not be happy with this win? Of course you can. I celebrated the goal. I celebrated the win because we get through to the next round of the Cup because I want us to take this Cup seriously, but we didn't with the Carabao Cup. But I'm not going to, it's not like that meme. You know that meme where there's somebody standing in front of a building going, nothing to see here. I'm not going to watch a 1-0 win and go, oh, we won 1-0. There's no problems. I want growth as a club, but when we see we can win 1-0, but also see the problems that are with this club, you then want to rectify them. If we go, oh, we won 1-0, there's no problems. That's how you have Davies here for 12 years. Hugo Lloris, that should have been moved on 3 years, still here. That's how you still got Højbjerg here. Sessegnon, who's injured, who's always here. This is how you get into a mess that you are. Because if we win or we do well for a short period of time, it's like, yeah, we're Spurs, we're doing well. Oh, this manager's cooking, or this one's doing that, or that one's doing that. And then we get 6 months, a year down the line, and it's all like, oh, where did it all go wrong? Oh, let's start again. And we win nothing in the meantime. We've got to build. You've got to get it correct, but you can also criticize as well as celebrate victories and get through to the Cup. You can also say, these players aren't good enough for this reason. The manager's done this, which is great, fantastic. But you can't just go, when things go right, you can't just go, yeah, everything's good here, because it's not. You can hold both views at the same time.
And that's why I just don't understand, like, why today in modern football, when people like Alan or myself or even people like, Ligon or whatever, they have high expectations for their football club and they're somehow negative when my expectation is higher than yours. The people moaning in the chat, my expectation is higher than yours, right? That means that I want Tottenham to do better than you do, and yet somehow I am not a fan, or I don't have ball knowledge. But my expectation's here. Yours is here.
It's crazy because we have this conversation all the time, but often it's comparing a season versus where you want to be.
Right.
So, for instance, if Spurs finish 8th and win the FA Cup, and Man United finish 4th miraculously, there is a strong argument that you've had a better season because you've won a trophy. There's also an argument to say, though, let's just say between now and the end of the season, we click into gear. And by the end of the season, we're playing amazing football, but you kind of go the other way. There's another argument saying, well, I feel like we're in a better position going into the following season because football doesn't end at the end of the season. It's not the end of The Sopranos. So there is multiple ways to look at it in terms of trajectory. So, of course, in terms of trophies, Tottenham season in that hypothetical example would be better, but who'd be the more confident going into the next season potentially? Man United, you might be happy with your trajectory and direction you're moving in. Back in March 2023, Man United fans were buzzing with the direction that we were going in. We won the League Cup.
I mean, it happened last season. We were that with Conte. We were in 4th all the way until April, and then we finished 8th. Right? And you guys
and bang,
started
it fell away.
You finished,
of course.
Right?
So I think this is the problem when it comes to looking at. Of course, trophies are a barometer of success, especially historically. The most successful teams in England, Liverpool and Man United, we have more trophies than other people. I understand that. But that isn't what the conversation is when you're looking at Spurs right now. The conversation isn't just what trophies have you won, because you're not even in a position to really win the major trophies yet. So your success is trying to win those domestic trophies, but also improve to a point where you can win the big ones. Because if you won the FA Cup or League Cup every year for 20 years, but didn't get anywhere near a league title or a Champions League title, nobody would still say you're the best team. So and that's got to be the aim. So I totally agree. I totally agree. The problem you have nowadays is even the people that say they're Standards FC and it's all about winning trophies, they wouldn't accept just winning domestic trophies. You're right.
I got some terrible news.
Hold on. Take it with the national teams, for example. The United States has won 13 CONCACAF championships. 13. Does that mean we're a bigger footballing nation than England, who's won a World Cup and how many Euros?
You're not.
It doesn't.
Even though I hear you.
Right,
Daniel.
I would love to put that on the British fans as a bit of a banter. Right, the United States is a bigger footballing nation than England because we have more trophies than you. But nobody would accept that.
Don't do that, Will.